Hello everyone. I wanted to make a short video today to inform you about some experiences of mine that I think you need to know about in order to protect yourself, to protect your finances. Um, as most of you may know, I was quite surprised in 2008 when the economy all over the world basically started to collapse and was only prevented from collapsing by a massive infusion of trillions of dollars by the United States Federal Reserve. This kind of opened my eyes up to what was going on in the economy, and I looked into it and did some research and found out what the basic weaknesses were in the economy that caused that to happen. Uh, to give you a simple synopsis of what happened when the dot-com bubble burst in 2000 and in 2001 when the World Trade Center was attacked. The United States government, in order to prevent depression from occurring at that point, under George Bush, the Federal Reserve started to pump trillions of dollars into the economy, large amounts of money every year. That eventually created a bubble in the housing market all over the world, not just in the United States. And when that bubble collapsed, that is what initiated the series of bank failures, et cetera, that caused the economy to go in free fall. And again, it was only prevented by the Federal Reserve propping up banks and infusing trillions of dollars of taxpayer money into them that they had just newly created out of thin air. Okay, so that stopped the collapse and kicked the can down the road. But the problem is they didn't solve the problem, and not only did they not solve the problem, they are actually making it worse, so that the very next collapse will actually be worse than the one that was in 2008. Now, the collapse in 2008, the seeds of that were sowed in 2001, and it took 7 years for the economy to get to a point where it was going to collapse because of their policies. The next economic collapse will either, I believe, occur in that time frame within 7 years or even sooner. So if that is true, which of course nobody can be absolutely sure of, then we're already 5 years into the next economic cycle and possibly 2 years or less before the next economic collapse. And then, like I said, the next one will be worse than the last one was. So the experiences I wanted to relate to you were things that happened to me when I went to the bank. Several years ago, I was buying a tractor, which was costing me $9,000 off Craigslist, a used tractor. The guy was demanding $9,000 in cash because he didn't trust the cashier's checks, which were being forged at the time. So I went to the bank and asked for $9,000 in cash. Well, they, of course, told me no, they couldn't get that. So what they offered me was $4,000 in cash and a $5,000 cashier check, or I would have to wait a week. They would give me $4,000 in cash and the other $5,000 a week from the day I was in there. So I took the $4,000 cash and I called the guy up and said, "Would you take a $5,000 cashier's check with the cash?" And he agreed to that. But it made me realize that you can't just walk into a bank and get money. And when I asked the bank, I said, "Well, how much money could you ever get me if I needed it quickly or in an emergency?" And they said maybe $5,000. Okay, so it made me realize that they don't have much money in the bank. Subsequently, I was talking to another banker and I was asking him, excuse me, how much money I could get out in a pinch. And he said the most the bank ever even has anywhere in cash, change, etc., the most they could probably ever come up would be a total of $25,000. So that made me realize that if there was a panic or emergency or something like that, 25 people could get $1,000 and everyone else would be out of luck. That's how near we are to not being able to get any cash in an emergency or a disaster. Now, like I said, we could be facing an economic collapse within several years down the road, not to mention the fact that, there could be some kind of a disaster like a tornado or something, a massive disaster where you might need cash. So what I'm telling you is, if you don't have any cash available to you somehow other than the bank, you're not going to be able to get any. Now, I had another deal going on where I needed some cash a couple of weeks ago, or 10 days ago. So I went to the bank and I basically told them, I need $15,000 in cash. You don't have to get it to me today. You can give it to me in a week if you need time to get it. But that's what I need. So, and they said, well, we can give you $5,000 in cash and $10,000 a week from now, when we get new money in from the wherever they get it from. And so I said, okay. So they gave me the $5,000 in cash, and then a week from the day I was in was last Friday. And so they were supposed to call me when the money came in on Friday, and I would go down and get it. So they never called me. So I went in on Saturday and I said, did the money come in, and did you forget to call me? I was worried that you would just send it back if I didn't come in, so I was checking on it. So they said, no, the money hasn't come in yet, and we definitely have you in mind and are going to call you when it comes, but it's just not here, and we don't call you on the day when it comes because we don't want other people to know when our money is delivered. So okay, well, they'll call me on Monday. So anyways, they didn't call me on Monday, and called me on Tuesday, today's Wednesday, so we're 10 days out now, and they still have not called me to tell me my money is in. So this is the bottom line on this. The bottom line is, the money that you think is available to you in your checking account or your savings account that you can walk into the bank and get isn't there. They can come up with a few $1,000s for everyone. If 1,000 people ever came to the bank and wanted $100, they would have a hard time doing that. So you can see that if there's some kind of an economic collapse or disaster, you're going to be out of luck. So what should you do? How can you protect yourself? Well, the way that I protect myself is I get a safety deposit box, and I'm starting to put my money in a safety deposit box in the bank so that I can walk into the bank anytime and get all my money or part of it or anything. And that way the money is safe, and in an emergency, I always have access to that. I also recommend, of course, getting physical metals, silver or gold, to use for bartering in case the dollar becomes worth nothing. But it's pretty likely that, when all this stuff comes down, you're going to need cash. There isn't going to be any. And so if you are going to protect yourself, this would be the way to do it. Don't have the money in your house, but get a safety deposit box. They cost about $30 a year. You don't make any interest on the money anyways now. So it isn't really going to hurt you to have your money sitting in or a large amount of money sitting in a safety deposit box, not collecting interest, because it ain't collecting any in any case. But I believe this is the only way that you can really protect yourself, and it's important for you to realize that you cannot rely on the banks anymore. You can't rely on them to protect you, to have your money, that your money's safe with them, or that you will be able to get it in a pinch. So this is what I recommend to you. I hope that you'll consider it in order to protect your assets and protect your loved ones. Thanks for listening.